Okay, we went to Montana. You saw my video from last week. Had to fly through Seattle and then take a puddle jumper out to Helena. And the very first thing that happened was we got indoctrinated into a college party. It's the final senior year for my daughter, Callie, and she wanted us to come to parents' weekend. And the first thing that we encountered was a beer party. There was a lot of beer drinking, a lot of beer games, a lot of fun stuff. I honestly have never done any of this stuff, in my early days, but I got involved. I played a few of the games. I stayed very sober, and most of the kids stayed really sober as well as the parents. And this being the senior year, all these kids are 21, and they're letting their hair down and having a good time. It was fun. I got to admit, we laughed and laughed and laughed. And these kids, they're all such good kids. I really enjoyed meeting my daughter's friends as well as my daughter's friends' parents. And everybody we just had a gas. Some of these games are silly. They're not over the top. Well, that one's over the top. I was kind of surprised. This one here is over the top too. Shooting shotguns. I can honestly say I've never done that in my life. I don't see the point in this. They seem to enjoy themselves. What can I say? Well, this video isn't about college life, but that's what started the trip off, so I felt I had to throw a little bit of that in there. I played some games with the kids, and they kicked my butt. These kids were really into these games. This one was called beer pong. I feel like an idiot, but I've never played this one before. It was fun. It was, and as you can see, these kids they're all really a tight-knit group, and they're just such good people. I really enjoyed meeting all these young kids. And they wrapped it up with a little round the campfire type of a situation. But the story isn't about college life. The story is about our trip up to Glacier National Park. If you've never been up to Glacier National Park, up in the northern part of Montana, it is well worth it. So Callie got up bright and early and woke us up, and we headed out before the sun, and I pulled over at a spot out in the high plains and watched the sunrise. And as far as the eye can see in all directions was the high plains of Montana. A lot of cattle country. Callie did a lot of the driving, so I did have an opportunity to be an observer. And the fall color, oh my gosh, the fall color up there was just outstanding. Those yellow trees were all aspens. The very first place we stopped at was a place called Two Medicine Lake, and that was a separate part of the park. You had to go through a ranger station to get out there, and there was virtually nobody out there. Recently, there's been a lot of fires in Glacier, and they had just opened the park back up. So we wanted to see some of the trees out there. This area was kind of sad because there was a lot of dead spruce. And we took a nice long hike and encountered this sign about grizzly country. So we were a little nervous. Oh, that was amazing. We encountered this tree that split, and I'm guessing that the tree grew in a spiral pattern, and when the winds came through, it twisted and broke in a spiral pattern. So the fall color was just, I can't say enough about it. It was just outstanding, and it was so vibrant. The sky was full of clouds, but every once in a while a beam of light would come through and just light up the yellows. So here's an area where there was an old fire, and all these little spire trees, they're not very big trees, but they all burned. But it was very refreshing to see all the green new trees coming up. So we drove all the way up. We went in the east side and went all the way up to the top on this road called the Road to the Sun, and we actually drove into the clouds. And the higher we got, the more weather we experienced, but it was still just amazing. Look at that color. Those are the aspen trees up there. There was whole forests of brilliant, bright yellow. It was just amazing. A lot of the understory vegetation was a brilliant red. And we hit some rain. And for me, because we're in such a drought, the rain was so refreshing. We need it so bad back here in California. I feel almost desperate for the rain right now. Felt a bit like Narnia in here. The colors were just so beautiful, and there was hardly anybody there. I felt like we had most of the park to ourselves. And the blues in the water, I couldn't believe the coloration. And when the sun did poke its head through and pop out, it just lit up. It was just so vibrant. So Callie did a lot of the driving, and Dad got to sit in the back seat and just enjoy the ride. This is yet another one of the lakes. Oh, I didn't mention the water up here. There are so many lakes. Everywhere we went up in this area, there was just beautiful lakes. But there was also the same problems that we have in California of the dieback of the trees. But not everywhere, and that was very refreshing. We went up high up and saw another area. So after we got back the next day, Callie and I decided to do a hike, and we went up to the top of Mount Helena. And there was a trail that goes straight up. There was a sign at the base that was alerting us to the trees, so I was paying attention, wondering what that was all about. And they did do a lot of work on this area. It's fairly close to the the city of Helena, and this is a popular hiking area, so I guess they want to manage the forest. So it was interesting to see how they managed the forest in this area. It was beautiful up here. Once again, we hiked up before the sun and saw the sunrise. And there was a lot of interesting sights up here as well. You know, the viewing the city and the listening to all the distant sounds. You know, there was a train that ran through, and you could hear the train whistle blowing. And we spotted something else that was kind of interesting as we were up there, off in the distance there. Get ready. Here it is, over there by that tree. Can you see that? We spotted Bigfoot. I believe in Bigfoot. But back to the forest. They did a lot of management. It seems like they were cutting down half the trees and cutting out some of the ladder fuels, and they were just piling it up. I don't know if they're going to just let it rot. I'm assuming that they are. Anyway, that was my trip to Montana. We were there for 6 days and had a great time. Seattle. We flew out of Seattle, and this was coming back in, so we got to see some of the vegetation and the trees in Seattle. It's, I would say, probably 80 or 90% of the trees that we saw in Seattle flying in were conifers, and it was fairly green. It looked fairly nice up there, but they're in a much bigger rain shadow. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little journey to Montana. If you get a chance, visit Glacier National Park.